someone on LinkedIn was talking about wanting to schedule a haircut for their kid, and they call the salon and they said, oh, you have to do it through the app. Like you make the appointment, you pay for it, blah, blah, blah. And this lady's like, I just want to make a simple appointment for my kid and be done with it. I don't want to have to go through, sign up for the app, create a password, and then put my info in there. It's like a lot of these convenient tools, yes, they're convenient after a while, but when you have to get them set up, and a lot of people don't want to take those steps, they just want to get whatever the task or whatever the product they need, like one and done, or if somebody goes to a router store to get a new router and they say, oh, you have to get it online. They're like, but you right there, like, you just hand me one. But like, no, you have to go through the website because we need your info and we need the tracking, whatever the excuse is. And I just feel like we just need to be careful about overcomplicating things, trying to simplify at the same time. Like there's that counterintuitive, almost backlash of making things worse or making things more complicated. So to answer your question is I don't know what that looks like. If we figure it out and we could figure out how to streamline AI and how to actually make it so that we can rely on it and we can, just use it in a way that actually helps rather than hinders, then yeah, that's the hope that everybody should have.
Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. Today's guest is Laura Dolan. She is the Director of Digital Marketing at Loftware, and she has past experiences at Optimizely and Keap, previously Infusionsoft, as well as early career experiences in content and writing. She currently oversees SEO optimization and UX to boost traffic and conversion, as well as managing organic social media and other media channels. She's built social from the ground up for multiple businesses. Laura, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ben. I'm excited to be here.
I always like to hear about early stories that shaped people's careers. And I know you had some experiences with writing. Can you tell us a little bit about an early story and maybe how that's affected the work that you do today?
100%. So next month will be 20 years since I started my career. I started out as, thank you. I started out as an intern for a magazine in San Diego called San Diego Metropolitan Magazine and North Park News. They had the same editorial staff. And I started out as a staff writer. I went in 3 days a week. I got to go downtown and go in this big high rise and work with the staff there and do, at first it was just, I'm going down a list and calling people, verifying their business addresses and things of that nature for some of our ads. But then I got to get into the weeds and go interview local businesses and like restaurants and salons and things like that. So that was when my career took off. I was able to have my own bylines as a 22-year-old senior in college in a huge, well, I don't want to say huge, but it was an important local magazine. For me, that was a big deal. I was all about the bylines and the mastheads back then, especially in print. Obviously 20 years ago, print was a little bit, I'm sorry. I hope you're going to edit this because sometimes I lose my train of thought.
It's fine. It's fine. We're all humans.
Yeah. At the time, print seemed a little bit more important than digital. I've seen a huge transition over to digital in my 20 years. So it's just been cool to go from being so excited about something that's in print to something that's online and that's perpetually researchable and people can always find your work and just things you're proud of are out there and they can show up in searches and things like that. So the evolution of going from print to digital in my career, from writing and editing and then just stumbling into the marketing stage of my career has been an amazing journey. And I just can't believe I've been doing this for so long and it's been very rewarding. I've just met the best people along the way. I've gotten to work at amazing places and talk to amazing businesses and vendors and partners. So it's just definitely been a very well-rounded experience and looking forward to the next 20, believe it or not.
Well, I absolutely believe it, and I see the evolution there, and I see that there's some consistent threads, even if the job titles are very different, even if the media format is very different, right? there's clearly this thread of thinking about people, right? You're going out and interviewing them, and there's
Yes,
clearly this thread of communication as well, right? And how do you express those ideas so that they connect with people, right? And whatever the format is. You know, this podcast typically focuses on support, the support part of customer experience. But as we know, customer experience is this overall thing that
absolutely.
the human being experiences. It's not these
Yep.
individual departments. How do you think about this idea of like, in the customer's mind, there is no division of departments. There's just one thing. And how can teams kind of, think about, where to blur the lines, where to get cross-functional?
This is something I was literally thinking about yesterday. And for me, no matter what department you're in, whether it's engineering, marketing, development, product, the customer should be number one. They should be the most important entity we're thinking about. Obviously, there's things that take priority. Like we want to make sure we're getting people into the funnel and we're seeing conversions and we're seeing people move through the funnel and become qualified leads and sales leads. But at the end of the day, these are people looking for a solution. And our job, especially as marketers, is to provide that thought leadership and provide that pain point solution, meet them halfway. And for me, that it's always been about that. Creating value when they come to your website, making sure that what they're looking for is there. And at any stage of their journey, whether it's, they're a small business or they're an enterprise, making sure that what the solution is something that they can benefit from and take them from A to B, take them from before and after, take them from from hell to heaven, however you say it, it's just take them to a place that's better than where they started. That to me is the end goal. And that should be reflected again, just in anything we're doing, whether it's producing a video, an ebook, an infographic. Obviously, I'm coming from a content perspective, but to me, it's all the same goal. Everybody should be aligned with the customer comes first. The customer is the most important person in the room. And that's what would break down the silos if everybody can get aligned just on that thought process and just really making sure that at the end of the day, we want our customers to be happy. We want them to come back and do case studies for us, give us referrals, join a loyalty program, anything that makes the company look better and give credibility. Because at the end of the day, you want your reputation to be, completely solid. And the way we do that is putting the customer first and making sure that we take care of them as much as we can.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you about you said something that I think is a really good turn of phrase, a really good way to explain it is the
Mhm.
customer should always be in the room, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
that they should have a seat at the table, right? That sort of thing. Like, how do
Mhm.
you, like, tactically speaking, like, what are some things that you do, or what are some things you recommend to, get the customer in the room, even if they're not, physically present?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it comes down to not just what we're selling them, what we're offering them, but how are we nurturing them? So once they buy the product, once they sign up for a service, do we have a customer portal for them? Do we have a team of customer success representatives that they can come to and trust, someone they can keep coming back to, or are we providing any kind of reference tools? So, for example, I work with a tool called Storyline, and it provides step-by-step demos that our customers could download and they could keep them as reference, and they don't have to keep, calling the company or asking questions. The answer's right there. And it's a matter of like how detailed we want to be, how much work we're putting into it to really help them along. If we're going to give them a tool where they have to be independent, we have to make sure that it doesn't skip any steps, that it's got every single detail that they would need. And that's something I think about as well, when I'm creating content and thought leadership. What is the thing they're looking for? What is the thing that's going to make them click or keep scrolling or watch a video? It dovetails into that, that you have those goals as a marketer, but then at the same time, it's yes, those goals are there, but it's serving a purpose and making sure, like, that backlink is in the right place at the right time, that video is what they're looking for at the right time, and just putting yourselves in their shoes. I always do that. I'm a consumer, you're a consumer, we want to be treated a certain way, and it's all about empathy. You just have to put yourself in the customer's shoes and say, okay, well, if I were doing this, what would I want to see? What would I want to know? So for me, the customer's in the room if you put your mindset, if you just go there with your mindset and, just again, it's all about empathy.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this idea of having empathy for the customer, um, as you said, putting yourself in their shoes. People do customer journey mapping. People do, um, what is it like the almost like the secret shopper kind of thing, right? Where you kind of become a user of your product and you kind of go through it and see, what stands out
Yeah.
to you. There's like
Yep. Or
various.
the ICP,
Mhm.
going through ICPs, things like that.
There's various things people can try and that are very helpful in this regard. One of the pieces again here that I'd love to get your thoughts on is like when you when you have your marketing brain turned on and you're in the marketing point of view and you're thinking about the support department or you've talked to the support department in the past, are there any
Mhm.
stories of like a great interaction there where you learned something that you might not have gotten on your own? Or if not, is there like an ideal shopping list you have for like what you want to get from the support department?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, I'll just say in my personal experience, no matter where I work, I always have a really good relationship with the customer success teams or the customer success reps, and telling them like anytime you hear something positive, anytime you get some kind of stat or some kind of great feedback, ask the customer, can we please repurpose that, or would you be willing to come on and do a case study or some kind of customer interview? And more often than not, they would say yes. And I think that's where the two worlds converge, where the customer success team is setting our obviously our customers up for success, whether it's through a portal, whether it's through some kind of ongoing communication on onboarding with the tool, what have you. And then just breaking down those silos and having them be in constant communication with your marketing team and say, this customer is very satisfied and they'd be willing to come on and do an interview or a blog or something. And I think that's where the two roads converge, where if you're paying attention and you're in constant communication with different departments, you will get that kind of feedback and those kinds of ideas for, just better assets that will serve your prospects or potential customers, because you always want that social proof. And for me, that's invaluable.
Yeah, I think, the support conversation as ideal source material for social proof is
Hmm.
a hugely underappreciated opportunity that like people
100%.
out there, like if you're in marketing, go and talk to your support team or your success team and ask them for this. And if you're in support or
Yeah.
success, maybe take a step and be like, "Hey, marketing, I've got the treasure here. Like, do you want some of
Yes.
this?"
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and that it's exactly what it is. It's a treasure trove, and if that's not untapped, then you have to like you have to pivot your thinking, because if you are not in touch with your customer success team or your sales team and you're getting this amazing feedback, that's just like wasted, it's wasted gold, honestly. It's just like, that this unless sorry. I try to pause because I know how easy that is to edit.
Hey, but this is a natural thing, and I
Yeah.
I respect you being careful about it, but I think that
Mhm.
honestly, in this day and age, whether you're writing a support response or you're writing a marketing campaign or you're having a podcast conversation, like the human element, which includes the ums and the ahs and the pauses and the dog getting up in the background,
Yeah.
literally,
The you knows. Yeah,
yeah, but like
her nap's over.
but a little bit of roughness is a good thing, is my point, because
I
if
agree. I
like
agree.
if you polish off
Mhm.
all those edges, like you kind of
Mhm.
you can't do that without losing some of the humanity too.
Yeah. No,
Um,
the OCD in me tries to fight that, so I appreciate that.
yeah, well, I like to say that we're all human, like
Mhm.
nobody is perfect out here. One of the things that you touched on, speaking of which, is this idea of empathy. And
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of directions that you can take that as a team or as an initiative. Is there some examples that you could give us or some stories of like, something around this idea of improving empathy for customers?
It's a great question. Just like in general, like what companies can do or what
Any personal
marketers
experiences
can
that
do.
you've had around this?
So I will say overall, every time I've interviewed a customer, interacted with a customer as a marketer, and they know what my role is and, what I'm doing with them at that point, it's so rewarding because they're so appreciative. Whether I'm promoting their business or letting them, or basically empowering them to have a voice and talk about their experience and how it could help others. For me, it's giving them that outlet that they probably would otherwise not have, other than maybe leaving a Google review or a Yelp review, which are also great. But to have the actual interaction with the company, somebody on the other side that they can express that appreciation to. I loved doing that at the beginning of my career. Up until the last company I worked for, I actually would just go on site to some local businesses here in Columbus that were customers of my company and just get to visit them for the day. And they take you on a tour and they show you around. You get to take pictures and then just sit down for an interview. And it's an experience for both me and them. And seeing like a happy customer and knowing, it's my company that's doing that, like also helps me feel like I'm a part of the journey. I'm a part of this whole mission that we are striving for together, and making the customer happy and, creating a quality solution or a quality product that they can go out and like shout to the world, like, listen, like this thing worked for me. It got me from point A to point B. It could do the same for you. So just getting that message out there with their help, because it's like it comes from the source, it's not secondhand information where you're just, writing a thought leadership blog. This is like in the weeds, almost like if you want to get gritty, just get down and dirty, like with the customer and say, okay, like what was it like before? What's it like now? And how can it get better? Things can always get better. Things can always improve. And then again, just tapping from the source and asking them like, what can we do to make this better? Where else would you go for that information?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think it's easy to get away from the source material, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our own, projects and milestones, and there's all these different things pushing and pulling in all these different directions, and people talk a lot about being customer centric, being
Yes.
customer first, but like
Right.
practically speaking, it's hard to keep the customer's voice preserved from the
Mm-hmm.
source and then amplify that, right? Without it
Yes.
getting, kind of interpreted and changed and sort of watered down, if you will, through all the little layers. But um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think getting to the source is just really essential for marketing. But of
Yep.
course, customer experience overall revolves around this. I wanted to get your opinion and your experience with, you know, as a marketing person, it's this funnel, right? So you have
Yes.
to, attract attention, you have to build
Mm-hmm.
awareness, then you have to get them interested and they have to get into the funnel, they visit the website, they go
Yep.
through all the stages and eventually there's a purchase somewhere and then it's retention and then you get into the customer success and support and all of that stuff, right?
Right.
Um, but when you look at this whole funnel, right, there's various times when customers look for information, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so one of them would be, before the purchase, like they're just trying to research what are the companies out there that sell this thing, who are the
Yeah.
providers that are available, how do they compare, and so on. And you
Right.
have these kind of like pre-purchase questions that customers have. And then there's the real kind of evaluation phase. It's like, all right, well, I've got these three items in my shopping cart, so to speak. Which
Mm-hmm.
one am I actually going to pull the trigger on? You get really specific about the compare and contrast. That's
Yep.
another kind of category of questions. And then you have the kind of like the really specific purchase questions, like is my credit card supported? Is the kind of payment system that I want to use is it annual, is it monthly, whatever. And
Right.
then you have post-purchase, of course, which is where we lead into support and success, typically.
Hmm.
When you think about that, like those are all different systems. Each of these stages of the funnel, these are different tools, these are different
Yep.
departments. Like,
Yes.
where do you see that going? Do you think it's going to remain this kind of like jumping from this stone to this stone to this stone as you go across the river, or is it going to become more like a bridge that's just, just a smooth walk?
Yeah, I don't know. And especially if you want to, you know, mention the thing that's so taboo right now, and that's AI.
Mm,
How
there
much
we have to
AI
talk about it.
we have to? It's just it's not going away. It's here. It's not the future. It's here. And what from an sorry. Wow, my mind just went blank. From an automation standpoint and using I feel like something like that will be employed in the near future. That's not to say it's going to take people's jobs away or replace them. I feel like having that human interaction behind AI is still something that people clamor for.
Yes.
For me personally, if I call a company, I want to talk to a human. I don't want to talk to this automated system, which, that was a thing before AI. Every time I called in my prescription from the pharmacy, I never talked to a human. It was just all automated.
Hmm.
I feel like that is where we're headed, just in a different context. But I'm hoping just the world in general and businesses in general have the foresight to realize the human interaction, the empathy behind it all is still plays a role. Um, what was the question again? I'm so sorry.
Well, it's
Like the
it's this
overall question.
it's the overall question is this idea that there are there are different stages in the customer journey where
Okay.
customers
Yep.
look for different kinds of information, and
Yes.
historically those have been different tools and systems and departments. And
Hmm.
where do you see that going? Do you see it merging? And if so, how?
Yeah, I do see it merging, and the way it's going to merge, I think, is the tricky part. If you want to have everything all in one place, because what a lot of companies are doing now, including mine, is consolidating. They're consolidating tools, they're consolidating solutions. So, what is the end all be all? What does that tool look like? Where, is it on the website? Is it an app? Is it a portal? Whatever the answer is, I think we just, as a society, need to be careful with whatever tool we put out there, because I just know, like, I'll say a quick example. Someone on LinkedIn was talking about wanting to schedule a haircut for their kid, and they call the salon and they said, "Oh, you have to do it through the app." Like, you make the appointment, you pay for it, blah blah blah. And this lady's like, "I just want to make a simple appointment for my kid and be done with it. I don't want to have to go through, sign up for the app, create a password, and then put my info in there." It's like a lot of these convenient tools, yes, they're convenient after a while, but when you have to get them set up, and a lot of people don't want to take those steps, they just want to get whatever the task or whatever the product they need, like, one and done, Or if somebody goes to a router store to get a new router and they say, "Oh, you have to get it online," they're like, "But you right there, like, you just hand me one." But, like, no, you have to go through the website because we need your info and we need the tracking, whatever the excuse is. And I just feel like we just need to be careful about overcomplicating things, trying to simplify at the same time. Like, there's that counterintuitive, uh almost backlash of making things worse or making things more complicated. So to answer your question is, I don't know what that looks like. If we figure it out and we could figure out how to streamline AI and how to actually make it so that we can rely on it and we can, just use it in a way that actually helps rather than hinders, then yeah, that's the hope that everybody should have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, helping rather than hindering is sort of the table stakes, right? That's the starting line that everybody should
Yeah.
should begin from. And unfortunately, it's we have an AI initiative and we're AI forward and we're AI ready and all this, and it's a lot of talk without
Hmm.
a lot of substance, I find, you know,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's just, as a vendor, like I have to be careful about this because every incentive is to overhype it. Every incentive is to say, we'll promise you the world, and it's going to
Mhm.
solve all your problems, and it's going to integrate all your
Yeah.
systems, and everything's going to be great. And the reality is that it's not like that, of course. And the reality is that customer experience is almost at an all-time low right now from the eyes of the customer, from the eyes of the humans that are
Mhm.
actually interacting on the end of these things. And
I
there's a lot
agree.
of frustrating experiences like this story you told. I just
Mhm.
want to book an appointment. I'm already on the phone. Why are you forcing me into
Right.
another channel? Right?
Exactly, and it's gonna take me more time and, I'm talking to you. Can you just put it in your computer right now?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah,
what's the point of even having somebody answering the phone? So, yeah,
yeah,
I don't want us to get to a point where everything we're doing is counterintuitive and we're just making things more difficult. So, it'll be
absolutely.
interesting to see how it evolves.
Yeah, I mean the tools and the processes need to adapt to the human, not the other way around.
100%.
I
Yeah,
feel very strongly about
that's the
that.
key. Yeah, that's the key, and I'm hoping that that's how everybody else is thinking, but I have a bad feeling that it's not. It's not the way it's gonna
Well,
go.
we're still
But
early doors, right? It's still
mhm,
early in this whole AI thing. AI as a
mhm.
discipline has been around for decades, but as like a
Right.
practical part of our lives, it's been here for only a few
Mhm.
years. And
Right.
and
Yep.
even that, depending on the industry and depending on your personal experience, like you may be further or ahead or behind on that adoption curve. But I think I think it's all too common that it's frustrating and it's just not reliable. And I appreciate, of course, the companies out there that want to move forward and try new things, but
Right.
there's a whole new skill set that's involved.
Yep.
And those new skills is kind of the next thing I wanted to ask you about is like
Mhm.
where are you learning? What kind of directions are you excited to get more into as we head into 2026?
Yeah, this is a very timely question. So, my company, we use Copilot, and what we're getting in the habit of doing is creating agents within the tool. So, for those who aren't familiar with how that works, you go into Copilot, and instead of putting a prompt in the chat like you normally do, you create an agent, you train it. You can call it whatever you like. Ours, it's an acronym, and the acronym spells out Coralline. So I'll just say, so Coralline is an agent that helps us with a lot of our marketing needs. So we'll prompt it to give us maybe some social copy or split this ebook into 4 blogs, what have you. And then you're teaching it the voice of the company, the tone, branding, just the do you use sentence case, do you use title case, just little nuances and details like that. And you train this agent, and after a while the agent becomes an expert on what you're working on within your brand or within your business. And that's something that's also been a little interesting to see roll out and evolve. For me personally, it's a whole new skill set to become a prompt engineer, as they say, when it comes to AI, and just knowing exactly how to word it, how much detail to put in there so you get the best results. But people just have to be careful because AI, it's getting things from the internet, and the internet isn't always accurate. There's a lot of crap out there. It's just for lack of a better word, it's
It's
just
true.
you have to, again, you still need that human intervention where you go through and you fact check it and you make sure that it's not making mistakes or it's not wording something incorrectly. It's still, for me, it's not a time saver like people think it is. And I said I started my career as a writer, but I am first and foremost an editor. I edited papers in high school and got paid for it from people in college. I mean, that's like the type of person I am. Is like, I am a perfectionist, and I will nitpick something, rip something apart. I will read and make sure that it's up to standards and that it actually makes sense. AI doesn't always make sense, and that's the drawback. I think it still needs to be perfected, but we have embraced it to the point where I think we're skipping a step where, okay, we're just taking it at face value that whatever I get back from ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever other tool is correct, and I'm just going to put it out there for the world to see. And
Laura, I think you muted your microphone there somehow. In the app, it has a mute icon. I cannot hear you. I don't know if your microphone got unplugged or if something happened with your microphone, maybe. Oh,
Can you
there
hear
it
me
is.
now?
I can hear you
Okay.
again.
That's
Sorry,
so weird. I didn't even touch anything.
I have no idea. Maybe like a loose
That's,
a loose wire or something.
I don't know. Maybe I accidentally hit my mute button. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Sorry. So
Um,
just continue your thought, and I'll stitch it together.
I can't remember where I left off.
Sort of thoughtful use of AI versus just giving it free rein, basically.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, we just need to put the effort in to make sure what we're prompting it and what we're getting back is it aligned with what we're putting out there, that it's credible, that we fact check it, that
Hmm.
we read through it. Don't be afraid to proofread, don't be afraid to go in and rewrite. I'm constantly rewriting what AI spits out. I feel like at the end of the day, I could have just written it myself and it would be the same amount of time. So it'll be just interesting to see how it evolves and how accurate the tool is and how we could almost fact check the tool itself. How do we hold AI accountable, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think there's a lot of people that can relate to what you're talking about right now, and we've all seen the AI slop content. It's
Mm-hmm.
terrible. We all hate it, but we also, a lot of us, maybe everybody these days, wants to get the efficiency as well. So there's kind of two sides of that
Yeah.
coin,
Yep.
and I
Yeah.
I think there's this idea that I came across, actually a family friend who was like a really savvy executive, and he had this idea that you should not hire somebody to do something that you are good at already. So if you have the skill, so that let's extend this to AI, right?
Yep.
If you're good at writing,
Yeah.
don't ask AI to do it for you,
Exactly.
right? But if there's something you're really bad at and AI is really good at, then of course use it for that, right?
Right.
So like for example, just for people out there, like if you want to like you have a goal of writing a blog post or writing a knowledge base article or something, and you're going to get your source material ready and you want to have your references and you want to get, you want to summarize a lot of data, you can throw in pages and pages and thousands and thousands of words into AI and say, hey, summarize this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to do a great job,
Right.
right? That's not your article though. That's just the notes, the preparation. Now you go and write, with all this stuff nicely summarized and sort of cited and ready for you. So I think those are the sorts of things you know, that hopefully people can think about a little bit more of like, what am I good at and what am I not good at? And like, don't outsource the good part, right?
It's the same concept as hiring people smarter than you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hiring the people who know how to do something that you don't, and they're the ones that who make you look good. And I feel like, yeah, we could definitely leverage AI in that way if we again know how to use it. I've seen so many training videos out there on how to be a successful prompt engineer, and it's a skill set you can add to your resume. I've done it because I've been working with AI now since almost 3 years. Beginning of 2023 is when I started using ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
and it started out just very. I honestly didn't know where to begin. I was
Mm-hmm.
just like,
Mm-hmm.
the possibilities are endless. Where do I even start? And so I'm like, hey, could write this LinkedIn post for me, and here's my company, here's my branding, whatever. And it just kind of took off from there. And yeah, from an efficiency standpoint, it's fantastic, especially if you needed to create like notes for a podcast or some kind of outline for a video or script or some kind of suggestion, a way to figure out how to communicate details for an infographic that you're giving to a design team, just things like that I feel are invaluable. But again, possibilities are endless and it just depends on people's industries and what they're doing with it. And, at the end of the day, it is a helpful tool. I don't mean to bash it, but I'm just trying to be cautious. I'm just overly cautious with things. So that's just me.
Well, we have to be critical about these things, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't accept it at face value. I wanted so there's this theme throughout this episode. There's a few themes I want to pull together here and get your thought on where this is all going. So you've
Sure.
got you've got this theme of the kind of the blurring of the lines
Mm-hmm.
internally in order to have a comprehensive single customer experience externally. There's
Yep.
that, and then there's also this evolving. So, I mean, that suggests like sort of a cross-functional role or sort of a change in the traditional job roles. But there's also this this trend of AI skills being more and more
Mm-hmm.
relevant to every function, right? So,
Yes.
you know, you're not just writing, you're writing with AI. You're not just answering support tickets, you're solving problems with AI as well.
Yes.
On the
Yep.
marketing side, there's this sort of all this analytics and other stuff going on. Like, but the skill set is very different of like managing the AI instead of managing the problem directly yourself in
Mm-hmm.
some cases. What do you think about this, like this evolving landscape, like from a career and sort of job point of view?
I think it definitely adds another layer to whatever you're doing. Because again, if you're relying on a tool for efficiency, yes, it delivers something that you need at that time, but you still need as the person responsible, as the human side of it, again, QC it, just don't take it at face value. Don't just copy and paste something and then send it off. If you're trying to draft an email, make sure that it's addressing the right person, or you're not just sending an email that says hi name. It's just these little minute details is
Hi, insert
um
name here.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Those are steps I think some people forget when they're in a hasty, wow, in a hasty rush, if you
Hmm.
will.
Yeah.
And they're not taking the time to, they think that, wow, here's this great tool and it's making me more efficient. But at the end of the day, yes, there's efficiency, but there's also accuracy. And, you need to embrace both and make sure that you know, you're embracing both.
Yeah, I mean that's the holy grail, right? Efficient and accurate. Yeah, if you have inaccuracy, that's inefficient.
Exactly. That
um,
that just defeats the whole purpose of everything.
right, right. Yeah. Well, Laura, it's been great to talk to you. It's Laura Dolan on LinkedIn, everybody. If you want to connect with Laura, she does great work, and feel free to reach out to her. And that's been it for the CX Files podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Ben, and thank you all for listening. This has been a lot of fun, so I really appreciate you bringing me on.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.